Good morning, you lovely, lovely people. I've just been tiling the kitchen. I've just finished actually. But that isn't the topic of conversation. No, of course it's not. The topic of conversation is I wonder how many foreigners have come to the Philippines and getting the shit end of the stick. We all do, don't we? We all would if the worst come to the worst and we bought a house or we'd invested into something here and it went wrong. We'd all of us would end up in the minus. The same as me. I mean, if anything happened to me and my wife and here, my family, I would have to walk away from this as well. So there's got to be quite a lot, hasn't there? And there was another friend of mine, a British guy, called Chris, and he had 3 kids here to his Filipino. They never got married, but she had 3 kids. One was questionable, whether it was his or not. But the other 2 were, you could see they were him, like him. But he was here a long time before I was, I think 3 years before I was. And where I was living in Dipolog, he was living very, very close by. And we got talking and we became friends. In fact, he was from Wales, actually. And you come over here with a certain amount of money, no job, no pension. Obviously, he had no job to come here, did he? I'm sitting here. He had no pension. So the money that he had, he was under the impression that he could invest it and make money, like a lot of foreigners do when they come here. A lot of foreigners make that mistake. A lot of foreigners do well. They actually do very well when they invest, and some are very successful. But you've got to think it through, and you've got to have a niche. Where Chris didn't have a niche. He just wanted to do what people were suggesting him to do, Filipinos. And he invested in a videoke bar. Well, if you want to call it a videoke bar, it was just like an empty shack. And he had a videoke in there. Bought a videoke for 40,000 pesos. Didn't work out. It went bankrupt, actually. He invested in a meat, in a meat shop, and because the people who were running his meat shop was his partner's brothers, went wrong. He lost a lot of money there, and foolishly, he decided to open up another videoke bar, karaoke bar, after knowing what happened to the first one. And it went bankrupt. And then, with what little money that he had left, he foolishly lent it to his partner's mother. I think it was 80,000 pesos. That's all he had left. That's all he had left. And of course, he never got that back. So what happened was then, and this is when I knew him now. I knew him when all those things had happened, at the end of it. And I used to see him drinking any kinds of drink. He'd drink this coconut wine. He'd be drinking anything that was free. He was like sponging, really. He was like sponging from the Filipinos, drinking anything, smelling. He did smell, wasn't washing, wasn't taking care of himself, and he was still with his partner and these 3 kids. Like I said, 2 was probably his and 1 was questionable. And then he fell behind on his visa. He had no means of earning money. And for a time, I don't know how he was surviving. I lent him some money. Never got it back. I lent him 30,000 pesos. Never got that back. To this day. And like I said, he fell behind on his visa. And then it was 3 years. 3 years he fell behind on it. And then he got in touch with his mum in Wales and pulled on her heartstrings, basically, because he wasn't trying to help himself. He wasn't trying to help himself. He was just drinking, and he was getting in a state and feeling worse and getting depressed. And when when he was drinking, he used to cry. And I was thinking, oh God, Chris. So he pulled on the heartstrings of his mum, and his mum, I think at that time, was in her 80s. So she sent him money. She was sending him money all the time. I think every couple of weeks, she was sending him money so he could survive here. Then he told her about his visa, and she sent him the money for the late payments, okay? So what he did, and this was during the time of COVID, and it was at the end of COVID, so he could go to Manila, which he did go to Manila with his girlfriend, his partner, and tried to sort his visa out. Now, he had to do an affidavit, and he had to say why that he was late on his visa for 3 years. And they said, well, we will contact you when we know how much it's going to be and the outcome of it. And he was in Dipolog, and he had to go to Manila. So he did that, and they give him an estimated cost of around about, I can't remember what it was. It was a considerable amount of money with fines and everything like that. So he got the money from his mother. I'll see if my video's still videoing. Yes, it is. I have to keep turning it around, people, because the selfie camera isn't very good. This one's not much better, but at least it's a little bit better. So his mother sent him what he thought it was going to be. Now, time went on, and I said to him, have you been in touch with the immigration in Manila? No, he said, they were going to contact us. I said, well, I don't think so. I said, you should be contacting them. Oh, it's all right. It's okay. Anyway, what he did, people, he spent the money. He spent the money that his mother had sent him. Drinking. He's just drinking and just wasting the money instead of thinking, I'll get this sorted out. So I said to him, you will... Oh, and by the way, when he went there to sort it out first time, they kept his passport. So he was a man without a country, more or less. He had no passport. He couldn't go anywhere. He was stuck here, overstay. And he just moved to a different place in the same city, Dipolog City. And he was just trying to hide away. And I said to him, they will catch you. They will catch you. I said, because they know now that you are overstaying. Your passport is in their possession. No, he'd be all right. He says, they've got more important things to do. So I said, well, what are you going to do when, all of this money runs out that, you've been getting from your mother? And he said, well, at the moment we're surviving. I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. No way to be. Just no planning, no nothing. Now, by this time I moved over here, so I lost contact with him. Fortunately, I lost contact with him. And there was a time when I went to get my motorcycle. At the time I had a bike, and I had to go and get a new chain. And at the garage that I go to all the time, except with the car, the guy who works there is one of the brothers of his partner. And I said, how's Chris? He says, he's been deported. What? Yeah, he's been deported. I said, well, what happened there? And this is all like the immigration come round and just took him away one Sunday. He's gone now, never come back. And he got, because I spoke to his partner after this, and altogether with everything it was like over 300,000 because he had to pay this and pay for that and the deport. Oh, it was a lot of money. Anyway, now I don't think he's got no intentions of coming back. So he's basically, through his own foolishness, has lost seeing his kids, and apparently he doesn't send any money over for the 2 kids that are his here. He's like abandoned them, and it was just a waste of space. And he kind of deserved what he got because he was just foolish. He was foolish, and he just didn't think ahead. He didn't think, well, if these businesses don't work, and he had no intentions of going back to Wales. He had no intentions. He was just going to live here for as long as he could, sponge off Filipinos, because that's what he was doing when his money ran out. He was sponging off hard-working Filipinos. But that aside, I wonder how many foreigners come here and don't, I wouldn't say plan, but just don't think things through and foolishly um, invest in bad ventures through advice of maybe their partners or their partner's family, and then they end up with nothing, don't they? I wonder how many there are. I bet there's a lot. But fortunately, I would imagine there are more sensible foreigners here than unsensible foreigners. Now, there's a guy, and he's very open about it. I think I spoke about him before, Paul, and he's got like a YouTube channel. Now, he's fallen behind on his, and he says it on his site, on his channel. He's fallen behind on his visa and he's overstaying. I think his passport's expired, and I mean, I would be past myself if that was me. I would be, God, what am I going to do? What am I, But like I watch some of his videos, and he's just happy-go-lucky. And Chris was the same. He was just happy-go-lucky. Didn't care about, not a care in the world. Me, I did overstay here. I will be honest, and it was during the time of COVID, and I couldn't get to an immigration office. There was nothing running, and I overstayed for quite some time. And after I got my overstay sorted out through JRC visa a consultancy, and they are accredited, and they did everything for me. I paid the fee to them, and I asked them, what did they think the outcome was going to be, and they said, well, I think it's going to be okay. It's called a motion of consideration. You have to file a motion of consideration. So basically, you're admitting that you've overstayed, and you're asking for forgiveness from the Commissioner of Immigration, and it was accepted. And it took about 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks to be sorted, and you only get 2 weeks to pay this overstay. You only get 2 weeks to pay it. I paid it all. It was quite a bit with the fines and stuff, but I did that through JRC. Brilliant company. I would recommend them to anyone. I know there's a lot of foreigners here that do use them for their visas and everything. And I believe now that they even do real estate as well. And I think there's a free consultation on their website. And I would highly recommend them. But anyway, when you come to the Philippines, you've got to realize that it's not like going into a first world country where you can perhaps invest and perhaps be very successful. Here, you can still do it through your wife or your partner, or if you get like an SRV or you get a 13A spousal visa, you can. But I think it's far few and in between of success stories. I know there are. I know many foreigners have come here and been very successful and still are successful. But I just wonder how many have done the same as Chris. When he come here and he spent all of his money foolishly, he invested into things that were just not viably good, and lost all of his money, and then foolishly lent 80,000 or whatever it was to his partner's mother. Never got that back. And then he blamed them. I'm trying to see if my camera's on again, people. Yes, it is. It's still working. So I just wonder how many foreigners come over here and do fail. There's got to be a heck of a lot, because there's a couple that I know that, and I don't know many foreigners here to talk to. I see plenty, but I don't know many foreigners. I'm just wondering how many have come over here with these notions of business, and he's just gone Pete Tong. And I think if you're fortunate enough, you've got enough money to, you've got like a get out of jail card. You can get home as long as you're on top of your visas, as long as you haven't overstayed. Because if you overstay, this is when the problem starts. And every month that goes by, it's not just the like arrears of the visa, but it's fines on top of that as well. and it can just accumulate and accumulate, and then in the end you think, God almighty, how am I going to get out of this mess that I've got myself into? There's a heck of a lot of overstayers here, I know that. There is. I mean, I watch some channels and some, I mean, Paul, he's an overstay and he admits it. And he keeps saying that he's going to go to the embassy and sort it out. And I thought, well, the point is going to the embassy, you've got to go to immigration first and sort it out there before you go to the English consulate or the British consulate. But he just seems laxy-daisy and happy-go-lucky. I mean, as I said, if that was me, the thought of spending any time in prison would just, oh, I don't even want to go there. I don't want to go there, to even think about it. But really, here, guys, the moral of this story, I think, is foreigners who come to the Philippines and it doesn't work out, we always get the shit end of the stick. And that goes without saying. We split up from our partners, our wives, girlfriends, whatever they are. We are going to lose what we've invested in. Unless you've got, it's split up is like amicable and, they can sell the property and give you some money from it. But generally speaking, even if you took it to court, what you're going to say to the judge? Well, I bought the house, we've split up, but I want my money from it. The judge is not going to, he's going to laugh at you. Unless you've got good reason and you've got a good case. Whereas maybe you was in the relationship and you found out that your partner, your wife, was having an affair. And I think that might stand some ground. But at the end of the day, the Constitution here doesn't support us when it comes to houses and land and things like that. There's a lot of people who, they buy these condominiums and, fair play, but I don't think I would like to live in a condominium, because you've still got their maintenance on them, and, it's just like a tower block, isn't it? It's just like but there are some nice condominiums. One of my friends, a Filipino friends who lives in Cebu, he's got a condominium and it is nice. It's really nice. He's got not him, but for the people who live in the condominium, they've got like a sports complex and a pool for the residents, and I think for guests as well. But for me, it's never really appealed to me. I like my own bit of peace and quiet. Peace and quiet with chickens and pigs. You're never going to get proper peace and quiet living in these rural parts, but I don't mind that. I just don't like them when they're killing the pigs and the squealing. But, obviously their tradition, it's their culture, that's what they do. You have to accept it. I just block my ears when they're doing it. But anyway, that's it. I just thought I would just make a video of that, like about how many foreigners come here and fail. And I feel sorry for the ones who fail through no fault of their own. But I haven't really got a lot of sympathy for these foreigners who fail through their own stupidity. Anyway, people, I've only got to do now. I've got, as I said, the kitchen is tiled. I did that. I've done a good job, I think, as well, actually. I think I've done a good job. It's all nice and level, and that thing as well. It's quite nice. I've only got to do now is the flooring. Tile the flooring, and the bedrooms. Tile the bedrooms, and there's my little boy in his bedroom, in his room where he's playing with his toys. This is a bedroom, but it's his toy room, basically. It's his toy room. So I've got to tile this, and it's finished upstairs. And the bathroom, got to tile the bathroom as well. Oh, sorry guys, and out here as well. This terrace, I've got to oh, there's the dog. There she is. She get pregnant. Look, she's big now. Gigi, hello you, Gigi. Good girl. She just wanders off. So that's it, people. Thank you for dropping by again. And say bye-bye, people. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mama. Thank you, people. God bless you and take care. Thank you.